Yeah, I will be in a second. Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and we have a kind of a new look here. Bobby's out for a couple of days, so Adam and I are going to do this one together. And it's going to be obviously a lot different than the Bobby Eric ones, because Eric and Adam don't know much about baseball. So we're going to use SaberSim as kind of our main construct to figure out what we're supposed to do here. And it'll be cool to have kind of two of us kind of combine for like what to click and what we want to do here. So we're going to share my screen, and we'll focus on what I'm playing today. Okay, so why don't we do that? So I'm playing 60 lineups in the lottery, and then well, you'll see. I mean, first thing, I presume you do the same thing when you play. Like I uploaded everything like dummy lineups here first. Like I put, so this way everything is kind of saved in here.
I would recommend everyone do that. Like get dummy lineups in, especially like we were just talking before here. I got a 15-month-old. Everyone has something going on in their life, right? So you never know what's going to happen. So get a dummy lineup in, or all of them.
So the first thing I like to do, and this is kind of fun. Now we got to talk a little bit about this freaking Oakland game, only because there's definite weather problems there, and it's an issue because it's the last game. So I don't know how do you usually handle it? I mean, like let's just say listen, if it's yellow, orange, and whatever, I just kind of ignore it. You know what I mean? But if it's red, obviously I'll exit out, or orange, red, I'll probably exit out. But what if it's like something like an orange where you just don't know, what do you do? Especially like in like this type of slate where there are 3 games at 12:30, so you're gonna have to make some kind of decision of what you're gonna do. I mean, what do you like to do? I mean, like just I got, obviously the answer is depends, right? But in general, like what would you do like today?
Yeah, so the answer always is depends. It depends on the size of the slate too, right?
Yeah.
Like ownership matters more on this slate. I just have a feeling Sears is going to come in way lower than that 40-something%.
Okay.
And I kind of like Sears.
Right.
And you could say, well, that's risky. DFS is risky, right? I mean, I on this slate with only 4 games, and there's really no good pitching, he's got like probably the best matchup against the White Sox. I kind of like Sears. Now, one of the things you get to a lot in SaberSim is like you get correlation even with the pitcher in the stack. I'm here for it today, right? I mean, give me Sears with Oakland. So you say, well, it's a rain game, only played in stacks. Well, I'm getting these Sears stacks with Oakland, and I'm okay with them.
You mean Oakland is, forgive me, Sears is on Oakland, right?
Sears is on Oakland.
Okay, right.
SaberSim loves to do that, and I don't always know about it. But like, if you're saying, well, you only want to play 5-man stacks because it's risky, you don't want to play one-offs from the game, you might as well just have Sears on your stack too.
May as well, right?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
No, I'm down for it. I don't mind. I mean, I looked at this slate. There's like no really great pitching that stands out anyway, is the thing. And I just said, like, before I build, who do I think I'm going to get to?
Yeah.
And I look at Sears' ownership and I look at Rodriguez's ownership and compared to their projection, I'm like, I know SaberSim. I bet you I get a ton of Miami, and I wouldn't be surprised if I got the White Sox.
Yeah.
And, I'm here for it on this kind of slate.
Yeah. Here's another thing I like to do first. So the first thing I'll do is first I want to do like a total build with just literally, I call it just SaberSim autopilot, and just take 2 changes. I'm not even looking at what I'm doing. I'm literally building the lineups, running the sims with the stock things, not making any changes, not making any stack changes, and just kind of see what it would look like, if I do that. I'll tell you something really funny. So it's in the ultimate do as I do, news I say, not as I do category. Yesterday, I ended up getting second in like the lottery last night, and those of you that read between the lines, I was actually at the Yankee game last night. I was in the city all day yesterday, and I put in my lineups at like 4:00 in the afternoon, like 3 hours before game. I didn't even know who the lineups were yet. I didn't know who was starting. I just presumed it was whatever. Didn't late swap. what I did do though was I did put in, I did use my, I did update the projection, so I was a little different than SaberSim as far as that goes. But I literally just went blast, autofill, and then sweat, and and quote unquote it worked, right? So don't do that at home, okay? Like I really wouldn't recommend doing that, but I do like to see what the SaberSim deal gets to. Now, again, these are just the SaberSim projections too. So we've done literally nothing. Okay.
Didn't Brandon Adams like win the lotto too, like a week ago?
Did he?
Jackson Merrill on the IL in his lineup. We were talking about that in Discord.
That he did what?
He won the lotto with like a player that wasn't even on the active roster. He wasn't on the active roster even.
Amazing.
But one thing, so like what you did and you talked about, you could kind of get away with that in basketball. If anyone's watching, don't think you could get away with that in every sport, especially like NBA. But I'd say too, you can more get away with it on a regular slate than you can on a day slate. Now, this is only a small difference, but you're going to get more lineup changes on the day game after night games and different lineups than expected.
That's a good point.
Than you are in the night games. I mean, that's a small difference, but it matters, right?
Yeah.
Like we're looking for every edge we could get in a tough DFS ecosystem. So
yeah. So if I just did nothing and I went this, I would end up with 4 million% White Sox, at 38% Athletics, and then down to here. And then as far as pitching goes, I would end up with. I only barely know his pitching. I would end up with Brady, Singer. All these guys. So Erod, Heaney, Brady, Singer, and do I not even have Sears? Sears not even projected to pitch. Where is he?
Yeah, I have him. SaberSim's got him.
All right.
You got none of them?
I don't even know. I would get literally zero.
Is he not the probable starter?
No, I have him with a 15-point projection on SaberSim.
You're getting
and 43% ownership, so that's it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. So you were expecting the other. You were expecting. Well, I'm getting both. So you were expecting all the White Sox to go against Singer. I'm getting both. I'm getting not only White. Well, I guess it makes sense, right? So there's two ways to fade Singer. One is to just, not Singer. Sears. Well,
yeah.
One is to get all the White Sox. I'm going to get zero Sears, right? That's the story, right?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say about Sears too is he's not good in the run game. He does give up running. So like if anyone likes to look at that kind of stuff, you could go to like the StatCast stuff on pitcher running game. I don't think the projections capture like steal upside that well. People talk about that all the time.
So you think so again, so you think that the projections kind of understate the upside in base stealing?
That's what I've heard. I don't know. Some of this, am I giving away like paywall stuff? Like some of the end game guys talk about that.
Yeah.
And if I am giving something away, I would say, they got awesome stuff. So shout out to them and you should check it out. But yeah, people are skeptical whether the projections are really capturing steal upside.
Yeah.
And there is steal upside against Sears. I've got him like in the top 20 in giving up runs and giving up base runners and steals. On this slate, I've also got Edward Cabrera near the top 10 in giving up steals. So yeah, something to think about.
Now, would you do anything with on a 4-game slate? Would you be stingy or greedy with stack exposures or no?
I wouldn't be too in terms of running or just in
terms of in terms of demanding 5-man stacks or anything.
I only want 5-mans. I just can't get my head around the 4-man stuff. It depends. Look, it depends on the size of the GPP. But like I'm playing in the backup lotto today. It's 2,000 people. Like this may be 4 games, but you're not need an outlier, but your best bet is that outlier performance from a team. It's easier to get one thing right than 3 things right. I don't know. I'm just way more comfortable.
So interesting. So what do you do here? Like again, we're going to come back and do look in a lot of different ways. But here, SaberSim, again, I did nothing there. I just literally it would give me literally 0 5-man stacks. Like all these 4 2s and 3 3s and 3 2s and 4 3s. So would you just go in and just like spend and just X all of this out?
I wouldn't even. So I just build 5-mans.
Okay.
I don't.
Fair enough.
We've
Okay.
talked about this. I only
Yep.
want to grade lineups that I'm
Yep.
going to be comfortable playing.
Yep.
And so I figured, why not get a pool of 5,000 of the best candidates in my eyes to grade the best candidate lineups.
So let's do that.
But you're right. I mean, this throws a wrench in my process, right? I mean,
Right, because if in 5,000 lineups, it's going to take me forever to get to a first 5-man stack that looks good.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's asking for it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's asking for it. But you check this out. Like, here are the 5-2s. It's not like they're not usable, right? There's 25% of the pool.
Yeah, in the pool. But what are the pool lineups saying? The pool lineups are saying that one in that play-by-play sim.
Right.
75% of the winning play-by-play sims were 5-mans. Now, when it grades the contest sims, it says, well, the field maybe is doing too much on this size slate or something like that. And so these other ones are grading better. But I don't know. I trust the field lineups to some extent, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still value those heuristics. And I wonder how accurate the fields are. It's really hard to make a field.
So how do we do this? So let's keep the Saberson projections, make no other changes except let's only take 5-man stacks. So how do we even do that? So you want to X them out from here and then hit rebuild, or you want to start over?
Oh, so I have you want to share my screen for a second?
No, you can show me how to do it. It's fine.
Okay, I'll tell you what I do. So before I build, I take all these max exposures and set it all to 0 except for the 5-mans.
All right, so let's do it. So let's do it again. Okay. So let's go new build. And again, we're just going to make one little, couple changes to help keep DraftKings happy. And then what we're going to do is in the max exposures, which would be over here, you mean?
Yeah.
So we all to 0.
I put it all to 0 and then go in and change it to 100.
So we'll just click these, or?
So yeah, you just make those max exposure 100 on the 3 types of 5-mans. Sometimes I don't. If the slate's bigger, I don't even. I X out the 5-1-1-1s too.
So we don't even want 5 zeros. We just want.
No, if we play 5 zeros on a 4-man, that's fine. I think.
So we're gonna. So what this is doing, okay, everybody, is this is just doing exactly the same thing we did before, except now we only want 5-man stacks. So we're not making any changes in the Saberson projections. We're not saying we want less than 22% of EROD or more than 37% of whatever. But what we're doing is we're increasing the amount of the pool that has 5-man stacks. Okay, is what we're doing, right? Because in the first, let's look at it another way. In the first iteration, you had 1,250 stacks that were 5-2s. Probably you're going to end up. You think you get it more, or you just get more 5-1s?
I think if it was now one of the other things I do.
Yeah.
You're going to call this. This is not overkill. So what happens on a small slate is when you do this, especially if you don't have like min salary.
Yep.
It's going to start giving you you'll randomly get a reliever as a pitcher.
That's interesting. Okay.
So I do the same thing with the exposures for the pitchers.
Okay.
So I make sure that all 5,000 of mine are playable lineups because I only want to grade playable lineups.
Right.
So I want as many graded as I can.
It turns out that all these guys are starters. So.
Okay, good.
So that's
go to your go. Do you have it sorted by projection or by exposure?
I have it by exposure.
Okay, good. So we're good.
So if
you get like a 2-game slate, you'll start getting relievers in there, and you don't want.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So we're doing the same process we just did, except now we're only operating with 5-man stacks, and I'm just curious to see what the difference is. So again, we kept the contest fields the same, everything the same, projections the same, but then now I'm wonder, if that's what's gonna do to the story here. So let's look at stack exposure and all 5-2s and 5 zeros actually, and that's going to be. So it does spread it out a little bit. That's right. So now you're getting still the 37%. I mean, a good amount of the White Sox, but now you're diversifying somewhat. You have the lovely Miami stack. This is the world you live in when you play with Saberson. By the way, these are the teams you end up playing. It is what it is. And then Washington, Arizona, and Seattle. Let me see. Let me just make sure we didn't get any of these funky relievers. No. Looks like we're good. Looks like we're good. And we'd be getting Brady Singer. Now you mentioned something. One thing I didn't do is do a minimum salary. So what you're? Oh well, we have a minimum salary of 48,000, and I imagine
that's one of the reasons we didn't get relievers.
Right, that's true. And one of the and I would imagine we have a ton around this 48,000 level, because if you are, and we talked about this when it became the FanDuel, right? If you are going to demand 5-man stacks, then you have a small slate, especially. I mean, you're going to get lineups like this. That's the way this is just going to be. Now let's say we got to this. Would you? I mean, are you the type that's going to change anything, or are you just going to fire?
No, the only thing I might use some uniques, but
okay.
What I like to do with uniques is, let's say I'm happy with the exposures to the stacks, and I am. I get the leverage thing on this slate. If Rodriguez and Sears are both 40+% owned, like how good is that? They're not that great of pitchers.
Right.
I mean, so give me the White Sox of Miami, but I might say, okay, keep my exposure to them, whatever it is, 30-something%, and then do min uniques. And the reason for that is it'll give me diversity within my stacks, because I don't want my stacks, they're competing with each other once you put them in the GPP.
So how do we do that? So you're
saying go to stack exposure,
and then you want to lock these teams in at these numbers, you mean?
That's right. So lock them in at those numbers.
So you want to just put min, or you want to do min and max?
Do a min and max. Say, okay, I'm happy with that number.
So we do the exact same, like min 37, max 38 or something?
Are we happy with that?
Yeah, let's just pretend we are.
Pretend we are, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we'll do here min 33, max 34.
I could do it with everyone.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. We do 33, 32, and then 19. I think if we do that, it's probably going to be good enough, right?
Yeah, it's good enough. And so what we want to do, then use uniques to diversify within the stack, so we don't get all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters, things like that. So do I have to apply first? Yeah, you got to apply first.
Let's apply first. So, and I'm sure we're not going to change anything because we're keeping these exposures good, right? So now what we want to do, you're saying, is then do min uniques, right? So, so again, there's ways to do this. I've heard so many different approaches to this, and it's all basically like guessing, honestly. But one of the Sabersim guys says, you know what? If there's 10 guys on the team, I want min uniques 5, like one half of it. I can't imagine where that comes from. At least when you do the stuff, when you look at these numbers, at least you're pretending that there's some quantitative justification for what you're doing here. So let's just go, and I guess I just kind of memorized it. Which of these numbers means the most to you, if anything? Like either average, median destination ROI?
Yeah, I don't use these as much. What I do is I just scroll down and see, just to make sure my ROIs are still, positive, like around 10% at least. And I won't go further down than that. But I'm okay going low on the ROI, right? Because I always talk about this when I do a video. There's variance in the sims too. So you run a sim, you get a lineup that says 10% ROI. I mean, it could be 20% ROI in the next sim, right? Because it's just only binked once in the 100,000 sims, and another one binked twice or something. And there's variance in the fields too, so they're not perfect. So you're okay going down low in ROI, I think, to get in diversity. And I think anecdotally that shows up in the post contest sims.
So how much? How many min uniques? I mean, how do we figure?
I don't know. So say 3 min uniques, and then let's see what our lowest ROI lineup is.
So you want to see the lowest ROI? The minimum is negative 5.5.
Okay, so let's do 2 uniques.
Let's see. That changes.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I think we're accomplishing 2 things with the uniques, and it's different in each lineup. But one thing we're accomplishing is we're probably getting some diversity within the stack.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't get clumping that way. And we're probably getting diversity in our one-offs, in our 2-mans, 3-man. So we don't get the same stacks with the same combinations. You know, and I want that kind of diversity. I mean, DFS is so high variance, so volatile. I'm okay playing the long game and, you know, not getting over leveraged anywhere, any day. But that's my preference. I mean, that's also a risk tolerance issue too. So
and as far as filling goes, do you use direct fill or auto fill or?
Oh, I just do direct fill. I'm usually only playing in like one type of contest.
Okay.
And so sometimes I'm focusing on like single entry, sometimes I'm not. So, you know.
So again, what we do is we do this, and then let's just put these in. Now, there's another thing to consider on this slate, by the way, is we don't have a lineup yet for one of the early games. I think the Washington game.
Washington, yeah.
So, but we will. You know what I mean? So that is what it is. Okay, so what I'm curious about, all right, so we did all this, and we did it, just so you guys know, if you want to rewind this, we did a couple of things. First, we did a just overall look at the slate. You know, we talked about the weather game, whatever. We decided we're going to ignore it, right? We also talked about, we also ran just a total autopilot build with just using SaberSim. With no changes, no intuitiveness, no intuition, no heuristics, whatever. And we ran the sims. What that got us was a bunch of White Sox and no Sears. Then what we did was we still used the same things, the projections, but we used Adam's technique of only 1 to 5-man stacks. So we went and we built with 5-man stacks, same thing, same contest sims, and then we added them in uniques. And what he did was we accepted, and this is fine. Like we accepted these exposures were fine. I actually never care about that. Like I don't approve or disapprove of the exposures. If they are, then they are. And this we end up getting. Okay, so we will all remember this, and we all put these together. So now what we're going to do, just for fun, is we're going to do the exact same process using a different set of projections. Okay, and these are called the TrueDFS projections or whatever. And to see what we're dealing with here, what you can see, if it's green, then I'm higher than SaberSim. If it's red, then I'm below. And for some reason, like like SaberSim is like really, I guess, like playing the under and like everything. Like I am just way higher in everything. Now, because it's higher in everything, it's going to probably smooth out and it's not going to make too much of a difference. But I'm going to be curious to see what all this means. So let's do the same thing. We'll do it again, all the 3 different ways. First of all, did it save probably didn't save the stack exposure requirements, right?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's first again do it just, now this is annoying. When this updated projections thing comes up, I don't know how fresh that is. Like I don't know when that actually hit and whether it even matters. You know what I mean? If it was one projection of 0.1, or is it a whole new slate of projections?
I mean, first for one, let's look. I bet it's the Washington thing. Let's see. Yeah, we've got Washington, A's, and White Sox lineups. We have all the lineups.
Oh, they are. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay.
So, but it doesn't hit unless you hit refresh. You see that green on the refresh there?
That's right.
Until you hit that, it doesn't refresh. And if you hover over it, you'll see, because you get the projections, but then like it's going to take a few minutes to get the ownership, right? So if you refresh, it'll give you the times. And I like to wait till not only do I get the end projections after all the lineups, but then wait like 5 minutes for ownership to refresh too. So I just have the closest to post I possibly can get.
That's right. And that's actually, that's standard, theory in all of life. This is the longer you can wait for anything, like the better. I think.
Yeah. Well, it's a market efficiency thing too. And,
Yep. All right. So let's do the same thing, what we did before. And we're just going to make no changes, except we're changing the projections. So changing a projection in baseball, to me, I think it's actually a bigger deal and I think it just kind of changes. It's like rocket ship theory. It's like you change by a little bit. I don't know. We're going to find out.
one thing we should do is sort by Saber score too, right?
Okay.
Because when we sort by Saber score, let's see if we get all the 4-mans and stuff, or if it goes to 5-mans, or what happens.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't do that the first time, right?
Yeah,
I only simmed it, so
because we had 75% in the pool, 5-man. So let's see what Saber sim or Saber score likes.
All right.
You know, there is like a case for just playing with Saber score and not the sims.
What is that case?
Well, I think the case is that they're back tested.
Yeah.
They've been used for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And the fields we're simming against are not necessarily perfect, and there's a reflexivity to it because so many people are using it now.
That's true.
So, you know, I think there's a case for Saber score.
I agree. So so now without running the sims, let's just look at Saber score here. And these are using the different set of projections. And as far as stack exposure goes, well, let's look at team stacks first. See, it's a whole new world. Now we're 58% Washington, 29% Pittsburgh. Now, again, I don't even know who's playing for Washington. You know, in my own projections, I don't even know if I even got them right, you know, who's even in the game. So, but let's look at the stack exposure. See here, here's to your point. So using Saber score and my projections, we're getting much more purity with the stacks. Not as well as we would like, but at least it's something. You know, I'm getting 37% 5-2s, 12% 5-0s at least. You know, so at least we're doing something. So that's sort of interesting.
And now, I am not surprised by that at all.
Okay.
I think Saber score gets you in a more conservative approach, and we probably have, I'm going to guess, less White Sox in Miami. Now, one of the things I think I'm doing by demanding just 5 stacks and playing them, but still running the contest sims, is that in some respect, I'm melding what Saber score would do with a sim approach. But maybe that's off. But that's kind of what I'm going. It's some part of what I'm going for with that approach.
So here, to your point, I took the same things with my projection. I ran the sims and look at the stack exposures, like 3-mans. You know what I mean? Like so I guess I'm just guessing. Like what the contest sim algorithm is saying is that there's going to be a lot of people playing 5-mans, I guess, and that you could get different by playing non-5-mans, I suppose. But this, to me, I mean, as a hedge fund manager, this is offensive. You know what I mean? Like in a sport like baseball, to play like 3-3s and 3-2s and stuff like that. I know people can do it, and people have won like it, but that's I just not for me. I don't know what else to say.
I'm completely with you.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have this debate though one more time. Not even a debate, because I really don't know the answer. So there are 2 ways to get to a similar philosophy about requiring a little more correlation. Maybe Saberson wants to give you, and the one way is that Adam mentioned, which holds a lot of water, is listen, if you're going to only want to play 5-man stacks anyway, why even populate the pool with stuff that's not 5-man stacks? So pre-flop, to turn a poker term, he will only request 5-mans to go into the 5,000 lineup pool. Where what I do is different. I will start by making no demands, building 5,000, and then X these out after the fact. And so what that does is that at least pretends that the 5-man stacks I'm getting are reasonable. I guess that's not a good way to describe it, but are lineups that would show up in the top 5,000.
But not necessarily. There are 5-mans that might not show up because there's variance in the sims.
That's true.
So I want to get as many lineups that I'm going to play graded, because maybe there's some that get in there that wouldn't have otherwise. So
that is true.
That's the reason I do it.
So let's see.
I'll say too, one thing, this matters more for baseball, I think, than other sports, because there's so many combinations, right? Even on a format.
Right.
Like I don't have to pre-build 4 threes in LOL, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm probably only going to play 4 threes, but like, who cares? They're all going to get in there.
Yeah, but you know, it's in even the LOL. I mean, SaberSim's really been on this like 4-2 obsession. Like but meanwhile, all it does is win. Like all the 4-2s just win every day. It's
I know,
kind
I
of
can't
crazy.
do it. I can't.
I know, right? So if I did it my way, right, and again started with the 5,000 and then just xed out the non-one, and I actually like 4-4s also. Is this is where I would end up? And again, there and then we have a whole other world now. Now I'm like 33% Seattle, you know, still White Sox. Yeah, I got Eric Johnson's Athletics in there and whatever it is. So it's I don't know how to put this, but there's a certain wisdom to me if you're going to play MME of really just not looking. You know what I mean? It's just and then I if you really don't want me to look, I'll go to autofill, and then I'll really have no idea what I'm playing.
Yeah. One thing I'll say too, the not looking thing, and like I have to think of reasons why, like I want to poke holes in my own process, right?
Right.
So one of the things that's happened recently is I know SaberSim has done some work on ownership.
Okay.
And that means if they've done some work on their ownership, that plays into how they build fields. And
True.
so if we are getting, those mini stacks and things like that, that's what their most updated work, right?
That's true.
And so, maybe that's a flaw. Maybe that pokes a big enough hole in mine and speaks to what you're saying. And something you said is maybe the field just plays too many 5-mans.
Yeah.
And maybe the way to get leverage is by using those other formations, those other combos.
Now, the other thing that I got to really process this, and again, I'm only taking this because I'll shout out Endgame here. They do some really good work. They have some really really good minds.
Yeah, check it out.
Talking about some really heavy duty shit. And one of the things, unfortunately, now I have to deal with is somebody made the comment. It sounded like a freaking offbeat comment that hasn't been supported by anything. Something to the effect that keeping salary 49,000 and higher has been shown to be what you're supposed to do, and that to me is like really annoying. I might have to independently confirm that before deciding to believe that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like if you believe that, in the lineup constructions and the sends and all of it, it shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? It really just shouldn't matter what the salary is. So I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. I mean, what's 49 as opposed to 48.9, for example? And I don't know. I'm just inclined to ignore that for now. But it's something
it's got to depend on the slate size too, right?
Sure.
And like it's got to depend on the pricing. Especially it makes sense to me if you have like, I don't know, Reagan's, DeGrom, Corbin, the 10K pitchers on the slate that like you really want to get to, and that like are lower variance than the stacks. Like maybe that makes sense. I'm trying to figure out like the intuition of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but I will say, I mean, one thing you can do is I play around a lot with the post contest stuff.
Okay.
And try and look at what people I respect do, and see if who's doing that or if people are doing that. You'll never know for sure, but you could kind of gauge it and see what people are playing. What kind of
have some funsies? Let's see how lucky I got last night. Let's pull up my slate from last night.
Yeah, but as we know, they're not perfect either, and they're protection sensitive. And you're using
let's take how do we get this here? So April 16th. And
go to the 15th. Oh, no, sorry.
Right. 15th is it is the 16th. Yeah. So we'll do. Here's baseball. No, it wasn't FanDuel though. It was DraftKings. Okay, so let's do the main slate on DraftKings. And then we go to contest, right?
Yeah, contest. I use these quite a bit, and actually, I'll without shouting anyone out, I'll say part of my process is I hope to try and grade well in two independent sims. So like Saber Sims, post contest sims. And if I could grade well in like another company's post contest sims, then maybe that's saying something, that how
that's
robust
nice,
my
right?
process is.
So what do I do with this? Okay, so I click on what I want to look at, right? And what do I click? Users, right?
Users.
Okay, so let's do
And
users.
then you could just see yours right away by scrolling to the right.
Yeah, I see this. So we get rid of it. So with the actual ROI or whatever. So simulated average profit. So this I was supposed to lose minus 155. You're saying?
Well,
you're
using different projections, right?
That
so if you made a sim using yours,
right,
you'd kick ass. You know,
right. So this is based on what Saber Sim's projections were.
This is on their assumptions.
Okay. So what else can you do with this? So is that what you look at?
Sort it by entries, and you could look at the 150 maxers. So
well,
right there, this next column.
Let's look at mine for a minute. So if I click on this plus thing, what does that do for me? Oh, this is my exposures.
Yeah, you could see your exposures and your stack exposures.
And as you can see, like I don't think any of these guys were in my line. Oh no, it did have all these San Franciscos, the ones that actually got there. So when you like analyze your own stuff, like these are the two main things you look for: sim ROI and sim with the caution that the sim is biased based on Saber Sim's projections, right?
I tend to use Saber Sim for that reason. Now, it's pretty hard in baseball, but in other sports, I'll go look at other post-contest sims. And I mean, I'm repeating myself, but yeah, I'll try and see how did I grade in those. And there's one of the reasons I started playing single entry is because I had a little bit more control over it, of trying to figure out where two places like similar kind of things, and trying to, but not only doing that, but trying to see if my process resulted in a positive expectation across two completely different sims with different assumptions. So I
did what you said, by the way.
So then you can look at their exposures.
You guys didn't see what I did. So what I did was I sorted by entries, and this was actually Jordan's recommendation to me. Even though I don't play 150, I wanted to sort by people who played as many entries as me or more. So I went 60 and higher as far as that goes. And you know what? It's so funny. If you really want to be cynical, you know what this is going to show about if you sort by sim average profit, you're going to sort by the people who like use Saber Sim the most.
Right.
That's probably the deal, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
And this is no accident. You know what I mean? Like all these guys I know, like they're all the big Saber Sim guys.
But the way I think Jordan uses it is, so if you click on someone and then try and get an idea for what they're doing.
Okay, so
looking at their exposures and their stats.
Let's look at Shady Advice. Okay?
Yeah. So I bet you he's going to have mostly 5-mans, if not all.
And so how do we do this? So we can just go into here.
Go in, see up there stacks. So let's see how many.
So he's like 86% 5-2s.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then he's got some 4s, it looks like.
Yeah, but not much. And as far as play, see, I don't really care the players, but it is interesting just to I guess to see how concentrated some of the top players will get, right?
Yeah, it's a tough thing because I just like you're saying, I don't think Shady Advice is there saying, okay, let me play 86% 5-2s today, right?
Well, I know how he plays. He doesn't look, you know what I mean? Like,
right. But there's something in his game,
right,
makes those, his process gets to those.
Yeah.
And so, our sort of reliance on that, or reliance on this process of looking at what people do, is just to develop heuristics,
right,
or to be more confident in our own heuristics.
But I will say this: that is very telling. The 86% 5-2s. Like, let's compare that. And let's look.
I got to tell you, I think you're going to see in a lot of these guys.
Look at mines. I mean, I was like, again. I told you I'd made no changes. I wasn't lying. 5-2s and 4-3. But like, look at all this track I have in here. You know what I mean? Like 20% 4-3s. And almost 0 5-3s. I wasn't kidding. I did nothing. So I'm guessing that Shady does some manipulation, sort of. to make sure that he gets like a bunch of 5-2s.
I know he's said publicly he builds the lineups but takes them offline and then has an offline process outside of SaberSim.
Okay, that would make sense. Oh, so wait,
let's see other folks.
Yeah, I know, but it poofed me here.
Go back to users.
Oh, right. And let's
unclick him. So click the plus on him.
Well, I gotta resort too.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. We're gonna put 60 again. All right. Okay. This guy's good. We'll look at third and Schlong, right?
Yeah, and then deselect Shady.
Oh, right. How do I do that?
Just click on the plus on Shady, and it'll go.
I don't even see Shady anymore. So I guess.
Oh, who's the top guy you have?
That's me.
Oh, so unclick yours.
I'll unclick mine.
Now we're seeing.
And here's third. He's in another one. 90% 5-2s.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I noticed that it's not just 5-mans. The 5-2 is the most popular.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's because, I imagine that jibes with the higher salary thing, because you need the one-off maybe to get in into the pricing salary range. Like if you just played, I don't know. I have to think about that.
Let's look at some of these other dudes. Okay, so I know third and Schlong is a very pure, like SaberSim type player. How about like Big T? I guarantee maybe it's.
I don't know what Big T is doing.
He's like a Bobby guy.
They have the cash line up in all of them.
He never uses SaberSim, but he might now. Yeah, look, you can tell what he did. Like literally 100% 5-mans. So this is manual. It just doesn't work out this way unless you're manual.
Yeah,
you don't have 150 like this unless you tell it to give you 150 like that.
Right, I would get that.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Is that looks like. And what about? Okay, so this is Jesse. Jesse's really good. He might play differently. Yeah, I figured. So, but still 5-2s, like you said, 5-2s is the very popular of good players, I guess.
I'm trying to read the names.
Forsaken.
No. Yeah, I see. I know who you're talking about, but I'm trying to see some of the other ones.
This is Aaron Costa. Like he's really good.
Yeah.
So here's another one.
Let's look at a SaberSim user.
Yeah, I was gonna try to look at someone who's not a SaberSim.
SD Gray is a big SaberSim user if he's in there.
So let me look at this the calm, because this guy was hot for a while. The keep calm and tilt now.
Oh yeah.
Look at all these 4 5-2s. Everybody with the 5-2s. Now again, this could just be a slate thing. Who knows?
Jaded one thing. But there's another thing about this is they could not be good. I mean,
right.
I love all these people, and I could not be good too.
Right.
I mean,
Jaded one is used. Jaded one plays a little bit more like me. I mean, he doesn't play 150, but he usually plays pretty well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he again more 5-2s.
And let me say the opposite of that. They could all be good. I mean, It could be that 5-2s are good,
right,
and 4-2-2s are good in certain slates and certain situations. And
okay, so here's Giant Squid. He's like Mr. SaberSim, and he has like no 5-2s.
Yeah. So,
well, excuse me. I played with just the regular SaberSim settings, and I had like no 5-2s.
Right.
Actually, not no 23%.
How did Giant Squid grade?
Let's see.
How was the sim ROI?
So what do? We go to Giant Squid here.
Yeah, and then.
And I got him too, because like going into that. How do I find him? He was somewhere.
Oh.
I can search for him. So he was actual -10, sim average. Yeah, so he was sort of profitable, like plus 1.76 or something.
Yeah, so SaberSim didn't love.
Yeah, so maybe he's not as pure SaberSim as we think he is.
Yeah, check out B Grisseth. I bet you he has almost all 5s.
Who's this?
B Grisseth. You know him?
Oh yeah.
He's real good.
Yeah. All right, let's.
I'm gonna guess he's mostly 5s.
BGR.
BGR.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 5-2s.
Yeah. I know how these guys. I know. I do the same thing like this.
Yep.
I have a very, very good idea of what people do, and then
Yep.
it's a matter of who you want to follow, who you trust, what your style is, what your approach is.
Yep.
The truth is, we never really know.
No.
We
No.
never really know.
No.
We could all be good. We could.
Yep.
All,
Yep.
but it's not like those days when there's so many bad lineups in.
Yeah. Yep. And well, and that is part of what makes the Sims tricky, is because I still don't think that they. Well, I mean, they still should. There's still some bad lineups, you know, and I'm trying to think of how many of those actually end up in the contest fields.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it depends on the contest. The flagship, you know, is not our only thing.
Right. Right. Okay. So I think I'm going to get out of here because I want to go and I have to update the projections for Washington. I have to do whatever. But are you going to do? What else are you doing there? Are you going to do hockey?
I mean, it's the last day of the year. It's a terrible slate.
Oh, today's the last day.
I wasn't going to do it, but
no, I don't care. I know if you were doing it anyway, maybe I'd pop in or whatever. But you usually do it like later in the day, right?
Usually I do it later in the day, but why don't we do like 4:30 or 5:30 your time for for the other slate?
Well, we're going to do 5:30 for baseball.
Yeah.
Because
let's just do that.
Anyway.
This hockey slate's terrible.
Okay, so I'll see you at 5:30, and we'll do that then.
All right, cool. See you, Sheets.
All right, thanks.
Good luck, everyone. Sorry, missed everyone in the chat, but shout out to